slow rising crowd today. I hope you're enjoying your lunch. Welcome to the Harrisonburg Rotary Club. Feels like it has been a long time since I've stood here looking out across you, and glad to be back. And I will get us started a bit earlier because I've got a lot of little things to accomplish and catch us up on. So let's get started as always with the things that we think, say, and do.
First is the truth. Second is fair to all concerned. Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships. Fourth, will be beneficial to all concerned.
Today's song is by Braden. God bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Now let's turn to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And today's invitation is by Jonas.
Dear Father God, thank you for the beautiful weather that we enjoy, the scenery, the birds that sing, the plants that grow. Lord, we are so spoiled, especially when we think about all the unrest that goes on in many other parts of the world. Thank you for Rotary and all of the things that we can enjoy, be involved in internationally as well as locally. Thank you for Sabrina, for her business, the new creation. I ask that you would bless her. Thank you for this food. I pray this in Jesus' name.
Amen.
You may be seated. So I want to just take a minute to announce a couple of visitors, guests, and the first one is Jameson Weaver, which I will let Grandpa make that introduction.
Welcome, Jameson Weaver.
We agree with everything you just said. And I will introduce my guest, who you've seen before, and he doesn't like me to draw attention to him, but David Wanger, Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity, and his membership application is in, so we're excited about that. So welcome, David. I want to give an opportunity for any Family of Rotary announcements. Anybody has anything you want to update us on? Okay, well, I'm going to read go ahead, Ken.
You want me to do this now?
Yes, let's call that Family of Rotary. I was going to do that
I don't know
anyhow.
what it is.
Yep, come
It's
on
all
up.
part of Rotary. Last Wednesday evening, Andy and Thomas Ray and I, as Rotarians from this city, were in Kosovo. We gave a banner, a flag of our club, and we received one from Albania, or Kosovo rather. Two quick examples of what they are doing. Rotary is active in Kosovo. We were at a meeting where we shared in the four-way test together, and we felt like we were at home. Those three clubs are active, doing big and useful things in their country. One, they put the funds together to have a truck for giving mammograms to ladies in the whole country. And they also got another project of putting water, pure water, in all of the schools, either drilling wells or hook it up to safe water that was available through the cities. It was a joy for us to be there. They treated us royally, and if you want to know what we did after Rotary was over, talk to Andy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We do a couple of praise items.
Yes.
Well, we did did, the three of us did motorcycles for missions and helped raise money for them. And then today, I am very thankful for doctors and technology and everything because I finished my last treatment.
Thank you. Now, that's exactly what we're looking for from Family of Rotary, because we care about what everybody's going through and what you're doing, even if that wasn't a Rotary ride. I saw a bunch of you gathered Friday morning in the parking lot, like a fun group. I was a little scared of everybody, but then a quick thank you from one of our own, Corey from Centera Foundation. Dear fellow Rotarians, thank you again so very much for the district grant in support of the RAM Clinic. Your generosity made a life-changing impact for people in desperate need. And on their behalf, I am deeply grateful. Sincerely, Corey. So thank you for your support of that. With that said, I will mention a couple other things. Something that's been in the works for a little bit, but we're now ready to announce, is a Rotary social event coming up June 29 at Bella Luna, 5 p.m. It is a social/membership event. And so we encourage everybody to come and bring somebody with you. Even if you think, well, they may not be interested in Rotary, but they might. And we'd like to see you all there too, a chance to connect. And we're also going to be extending an invitation to members of the Chamber's B Cubed group. Part of our goal that we launched at the start of this year is to try to build some more diversity in our group, and at the very least, extend a warm welcome invitation. And so that's coming up on June 29, 5 p.m. There'll be some hors d'oeuvres, drinks, ticket. We'll get more details as we come up. Another thing that's less important, but just to let you know, on June 26 is our Rotary transition meeting, and that's where we'll kind of do a little process and share the transition from my leadership to Rodney's leadership. And every chance you get to show up to hear Rodney speak, it's worth being here. Should be good.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Now, also, I just want to mention another item that's in the work that's transition related. We've been so thankful. Les Helmuth, how many years did you carry the prayer and song leadership? Wow.
Long time.
A long time.
Forever.
And
Longer.
Les is not leaving the club, but he is not going to be leaving, he's not going to be organizing. Ash Heatwell has graciously agreed to step forward, and he'll do a great job. So please, if you have any ability and interest to occasionally be called on to do what Brayton just did, you basically start the first bars and this great group of singers joins right in. Those that can do the prayer and invocation, so reach out to Ash. Some of you that have been on that list, you'll get the new spreadsheet sent out to you, and hopefully you can sign up for some spots through the 23-24 calendar year. So be looking for that as well. And with that said, I have one more thing I want to do before I turn it over for our speaker today. We occasionally, even though Rotary has relaxed the the attendance standards, and that's across the district, it's not just our club, we still love people to be here, and it still is amazing when people make it a dedicated effort. So we want to at least have stand to be acknowledged a few folks, and then you can see Michael later. There's something that may go on your badge or a pin. You'll get it from Michael. But first of all, Ken Horst, 8 years. Please stand. Well done. Andy Van Hook, 9 years. This guy has to lead by example because he's going to be a Rotary big shot soon. And one that is worth a standing ovation, I think, is Jonas, 25 years perfect attendance. I got to be careful on that lead by example thing because I've not been that guy. I'm here as often as I can. So with that said, we are thankful that we have Sabrina here today, and we have a great opportunity because one of her board members is in the club and is here, and he's actually going to do the introduction of our speaker. Dave Larson.
All
right, good morning, Rotarians. Good morning. Good to see you guys and gals here today. Have the pleasure of introducing Sabrina, Dorman, Andrew to the club. I know for many of you, it's not an introduction because you've met her either at a prior meeting or just in the community. So I thought I'd share the official bio here, and then we'll bring her up here. Also wanted to make a note that, of course, the district also has a strong focus on fighting human trafficking. They've announced a task force and different coordinators that Sabrina's been in contact with. So even before talking about Sabrina and the mission of New Creation, I just wanted to just acknowledge that fighting trafficking it's a global problem, but it's something that Rotary is taking seriously. So Sabrina's passion for combating human trafficking quickly developed after volunteering stateside with an Ugandan-based nonprofit, and since then, it's been her mission to learn about this issue both on the local and also the global scale. In 2013, she and her husband Stephen, they founded New Creation. So 10 years ago, that was. So New Creation is a nonprofit that creatively counteracts human trafficking with a local heart and global approach, as you can see from the tagline there. To date, New Creation has generated over $4 million to combat trafficking. They've worked with over 10,000 students locally here to raise awareness, locally and elsewhere to raise awareness. And also they've trained hundreds of community members and law enforcement officers just to let them know what trafficking is and how we can all recognize the signs of trafficking. In 2022, she was named the Freedom Ambassador of the Year for her commitment to the mission of preventing human trafficking and championing the Prevention Project curriculum throughout Virginia. Armed with the belief that prevention, education, and job creation are powerful solutions to the problem, she's dedicated her life to developing concepts that will make an impact. And so I think anybody that has met Sabrina will know how compassionate she is and how she just has a strong vision. What I've noticed is that as I've gotten to know her over the last 8 or 9 years is that she sees things other people don't see. You know, we look around, we see, a lot of us at least, we see what something is. She sees who or what something is becoming. You know, she saw this disgusting porn shop that was on South Main Street. She saw a beautiful retail shop that could be a place where that could be redeemed. She sees survivors that have other people, you know, think are broken and they're not fixable. And she sees a beautiful child of God that God has just amazing plans for. So I'm excited to welcome her here. Excited to see what her vision is showing. What she sees going forward. So welcome, Sabrina.
Thanks, Dave. I'm already crying and I haven't even started speaking. Yeah, I know. It is a joke that I cry all the time, and we have our board meetings at Dave's office. So he has like the largest box of tissues readily available for me. It is a hard and holy work, so I cry an awful lot. So if I cry, don't get uncomfortable. It is totally normal for me. So I am really grateful to be with you guys. I know tons of familiar faces around the table. Lots of you guys have engaged with this issue with us, which is actually why New Creation is celebrating 10 years. The reality is most people last in the anti-trafficking movement about 1.5 years. And so it's a high rate of burnout, and it's a high rate of organizations showing up and then dissolving because it's incredibly difficult to deal with an issue that is the fastest growing criminal industry in the world. In the 10 years that I've been doing anti-trafficking work, there is only one number that has decreased. So every stat has increased. The only number that's decreased is the average age of a victim, which is about a 12-year-old, so a 7th grade middle school student. And so I always want to say first, New Creation exists because people join us, pray with us, shop with us, give to us, come close to the issue. So thank you guys as a community for coming close. And so this is our building on South Main Street. A lot of people know it as the old Pamela Secret. So we did take a former pornography shop and turn it into a ministry, which is not usually the path of a pornography shop. But it's been a really beautiful place to get people to come close and join us. And so when I say creatively counteracting human trafficking, I want to start with what human trafficking is. I made this massive mistake. The very first presentation I didn't even tell people what trafficking was. And this guy at the end said, "You are so passionate, but I have no idea what you're talking about." So if you know, great, but if you don't, this is the best definition. It says the trade of human beings through force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of exploitation, which can happen through labor trafficking and sex trafficking. We have both here in our community. So I've seen cases of labor trafficking, I've seen cases of sex trafficking, and I've actually only seen it grow in the last 10 years, not just here in our community, but in our state, in our nation, and really globally. I mentioned it is the fastest growing criminal industry in the world. It generates about $150 billion annually. So that would be if you took Google and Nike and Starbucks, the three most recognizable brands, right, around the world, you took all of their profits annually, and then you multiplied that out by 5. That is how large the issue of human trafficking is. Just to put it in context, when people say, why does trafficking happen? It is because it is a profitable illegal operation. And so this is the issue that we are battling back. The way we started actually was through job creation. We were working with women in Uganda. They had been rescued from sex trafficking, but they didn't have an option, an opportunity, an alternative really to move themselves forward. And so they started making jewelry, and that's how we started. We started selling the jewelry to make sure that they had a future. And really, actually, it breaks the cycle of exploitation off of their children, because trafficking is very generational. So we saw this opportunity of when you give a woman a job, you really change her life. You change the generations behind her. So we started that way. We did not know what we were doing. I still half the time don't know what I'm doing. But God was very purposeful about this job creation piece. What we know now is 80% of those rescued from trafficking go back into trafficking without dignified opportunity. So I'll say that again. You can rescue a woman, and 80% without a next step go right back in. And so this job creation piece was really missing. It was really lacking, and so New Creation has stepped in. We've worked with over 156 freedom partners around the world, making sure women have jobs that have been rescued from or are vulnerable to trafficking. What I know about traffickers are they're just looking for a vulnerability. That's all they need is a vulnerability. We all have vulnerabilities. Every single one of us have a vulnerability, but a lot of times the reason that a trafficker is able to lure someone in is because they lack an opportunity. They don't have connection to opportunities. So job creation is life-changing. Our shop is a powerful force. Dave mentioned over $4 million, but $1 million of that has only went out to global partnerships. So really strengthening this movement, not just in our community, but the work that we're doing in Harrisonburg has this ripple effect. And that's what our shop does, is this ripple effect. So this is a really big piece. What I am most passionate about is preventing it from ever happening. And it's because the work that I have done with survivors. And it is hard, holy work when you work with women who have been exploited, specifically for the commercial sex industry. My daughter, who's 19 now, she made a comment to me. She said, what would it look like if we just started putting money into preventing stuff versus waiting on the other side to heal it? And I'm like, yeah, that's a great question. And so we work really hard on the front side so that we're not having to heal so much on the back side. So that happens in middle schools and high schools. We work mostly in Page County, Rockingham County, and Harrisonburg City. We're in all 3 of those schools with what's called the Prevention Project. What is so powerful about this curriculum is it isn't just an anti-trafficking curriculum. It is talking about the over-sexualization of culture, the normalization of pornography, which, if I'm honest, many times is, by definition, human trafficking. If it's not, it's at least a commercial. So we're talking about really culturally relevant conversations that nobody was having before New Creation stepped in and said, hey, let's start talking about this issue. I mentioned the average age is 12, so a 7th grade middle school student. So that's why we really focus on 6th to 10th grade. And we have these conversations in schools to, one, make sure kids aren't statistics, but actually what's the most powerful is if we can engage them to be a catalyst for change. Because the truth is, human trafficking is no different than any of our other businesses. If people are not buying it, it does not thrive, right? Supply and demand is no different in trafficking than it is my shop. If somebody isn't buying it, then I can't get any more products to sell. And so a lot of the conversation that's been lacking is around purchasing sex. And that is a very hard conversation that a lot of people don't want to have. And I'm really excited to have. I'm really excited to challenge students to think about not just how to protect and prevent it from happening, but actually to move them and be a part of the solution and not a part of the issue. So together, we have in the last decade raised over $4 million, which is wild to me. I literally started this at my table and thought if we get one person to show up, it would be amazing. And so to have that kind of rallying is really impactful. I don't think people quite gather and recognize the power of just showing up. And I shared today in a meeting, I was sitting with a woman who is a local survivor who has found herself incarcerated, which is very, very common, actually. And the thing that she said to me that was so powerful was, I can sit here and I'll be fine because I'm not alone. And I thought, man, that's so powerful. Like, we probably all have been in some really hard situation. Hopefully it's not been trafficking, but there's something in our life, a place that we've been that has been so hard and so isolating, and somebody just showing up and holding space is what gets us to hold on. And so we get to do that too. We work locally with survivors to bridge resources. We are able to and have paid for scholarships. Our hope is always forward. How do we get this woman to be empowered, not dependent on new creation, but how do we get them to be empowered to move forward? And so we are in the very beginning stages of an expansion because what we've recognized as I've worked with local survivors, we're bridging them to housing or counseling or fill in the blank. So many of them need a dignified opportunity here in the Valley. And people say, well, I'll hire the women that you serve. And then they pull their background checks and they will no longer hire them. We have women who would love to be hired, but they're scared to work alongside men. Or there's activities that are really triggering in those work environments. And so we have seen power in community and we just want to do it more. And so we have a full undeveloped acre that sits right behind our shop, and we are going to build the coolest barn that Raccoon County has ever seen. And it will house what we do now. So we actually we have shipped to every single state in the nation. So Survivor Goods have went to every single state. We wholesale, meaning we bridge our products to other shops. It's over 100 different shops across the nation. We even have a subscription box. And all of that happens out of a Home Depot shed in a 40-foot sea container. It gets messy. So we'll have a warehouse. Our offices will move out there, and that will allow us to expand our shop to 2 floors. But the thing I'm most powerfully excited and passionate about is a coffee shop and cafe. This will be Harrisonburg's very first social enterprise coffee shop and cafe. We've seen this work in other cities, and our tagline is created and operated by women who are overcoming. And my favorite thing is this idea of we are all overcoming something. Like, my pain and suffering is usually what we see somebody else's pain and suffering. So to get the community to come close in a new way, we actually, to be totally honest, part of it is to get guys engaged. Because we have lots of women that come and shop, but it's a little bit of a tougher sell. You guys don't buy earrings and purses and candles and those types of things. So a lot of our heart behind it is for you all to come close, have a coffee meeting, have lunch, have your prayer meetings. And so we're really excited about this future expansion. A couple things that I always like to make sure I share, because I could talk about trafficking for days on end. I promise I won't do that to you, but I always want to tell you the ways that you can be engaged. The first is being educated. So On Watch is a really powerful free digital training. It's about an hour and a half. You can start and stop it, so you don't have to have a full hour. You have 10 minutes here and 10 minutes there. It is a powerful tool to help you as an everyday citizen learn the red flag indicators. What does trafficking look like? If I were to see it, what do I do? The reality of trafficking survivors, their number one access to help is their friends and family. It isn't law enforcement or DSS or CPS. It's normal everyday citizens understanding that something is wrong, being present enough to recognize it, and then taking the steps to report and help. So if you've never taken a human trafficking training, don't come up with all the ideas as why you don't need to. I say if you're a person that knows people, you should be trained. And so this is a really powerful tool. We have some of these brochures. This information is in that brochure. So that's my first. Please be educated. Connect prevention education to your school. So if you have, we're moving kind of up the interstate both ways. So our eyes are on Shenandoah County and Stanton, Augusta, Waynesboro. So if you have a connection to a school or already in Page, Rockingham, Harrisonburg, there's lots of schools that don't have prevention education. So if you have an in or a connection, you can say, did you know human trafficking is on the SOL? How are you guys handling that in your classroom? If you don't know how, here's an organization who can help. And so we're really excited, and we fund that curriculum that's teacher-led in their classrooms, and it's really powerful. So that's the second way you can help. If you like to shop, you can join us. If you need a gift, it's a really powerful way. The vast majority of people find out about us through this little shop. Somebody's giving them a gift or a gift card, and so it's really a powerful tool. It is fun. It's my favorite way to counteract trafficking because I love to shop. So it is it's a fun way. But honestly, even if you don't like to shop, I really challenge you. If you've never been in the shop, come see it in person. We had a guy who was a refugee. He stumbled in. He actually thought we were a church. And he started looking around, and he said, I love your museum. And I said, it's kind of like a museum, but you can buy all this stuff. And so it really is a museum, and I tell people all the time, it's hope rising is what it is. Like, those items are made by women who, if you knew their story, you just would not believe that they could even survive. Like, you just couldn't fathom the things that they've had to walk through and the things that they've had to persevere through. And then they create all these beautiful things. And so if you've not come in the shop, it's really powerful. You can join us on social media, share with your friends. We're always trying to get in front of more people. So engaging your people. There's tons and tons of community members. We've been here for a decade. I thought everybody knew who we were. They don't, I promise you. They don't know who we are. We had a couple that showed up. They said, we drive by here all the time. We thought you were a bakery. And I'm like, oh, we should not have spelled shop that way. But you know, it is that idea of every single person in here. I guarantee you there's somebody in your life who has no idea what we do. Or they might be shopping with us, but have no idea the powerhouse that's behind the shop. Did you know they've worked with 10,000 students? Do you know that your shopping is literally changing lives around the world? So you can be a really valuable piece of the pie. This is our 40-foot sea container. So somebody said, what does your distribution warehouse look like? And I thought, that is really cute and clever. Do you think we have a distribution warehouse? But this is our distribution warehouse. And we did this kind of as a love letter to you all, our community. Rotary's been a huge part of the pie. I have no idea if you guys know, but we were at a dead standstill when we took over the pornography shop. One, we had no idea because we bought it as is, and we didn't know what as is meant. It meant a very different picture than what I had in my head, I'll say that. And are you all on Facebook? Do you ever look at your Facebook memories? So that's one of the things that I do very first thing, because everything that I put on social media, I'm putting out as a reminder of God's faithfulness and goodness. Like, that's how I'm able to remind myself to keep going, because there are many days that I do not want to keep going. And so there's this picture of me holding a check from Rotary, and you guys closed the gap for us to be able to even open on the first place. Like, you all didn't even know at that time that you guys allowed us to open to the public. And so let me be the first to say, like, from the community, we're really grateful for your partnership. We're grateful because you all are the most powerful networkers in the world. I'll tell a really quick story. I'm at a group meeting. I didn't want to go to the meeting. If you're like me, I don't want any more meetings. Like, please stop inviting me to meetings. And so I'm at this meeting, and I had been crying all the way there because I had a survivor who needed a car, and it turns out I had no cars. And a Rotary member happened to be there, and they could tell that I had been crying. And she said, "What's going on?" And I explained the situation. Within a week, I had a card for a survivor. And I hadn't even asked her, "Hey, could you find this card for me?" I was just crying like I normally do and said, "This is the need that we have." And so there's a real power in this room, real power to engage the community, real power to meet needs. And I'm really grateful and glad that you guys choose to do that with New Creation. And so I'm really honored that you would have me back to talk about a really hard issue. I know it's Monday at lunch. We probably would like to have a conversation around anything else. And so Wayne, thank you for last minute getting me in here to share. I could take maybe a question or two. I know we try to close pretty quickly at 1. Does anybody have a question about maybe trafficking or something about New Creation? Or about my tattoos? When I'm in schools, that's the very first thing. I'm like, "Do you guys have any questions?" And they're like, "Tell us about your tattoos." That wasn't quite what I had in mind, but it does bridge a lot of conversations in classrooms.
Tell us.
About the tattoos. So it's the matriarchs of my family, and the palm trees are Jesus. This is the newest representation of Jesus on the back of my arm, but my favorite is this. Was painted on the inside of our shop. We allowed people to come in and pray and write prayers on the inside of our walls before we took it over. And this in Arabic was written on our front door. And we happened to have a missionary from the Middle East, of course, stop by, and she translated it to Jesus loves you. And so now I get to shake hands, and usually people will say, "What's that mean?" And I get to look them in the eye and say, "Jesus loves you." Yeah, so it's my testimony.
I heard you say you ship your products to all 50 states. Is there any, are you thinking of expanding to other states?
Yeah.
You know,
So
like Rotary has expanded from Chicago
Yeah.
all throughout the world. And
we always want to expand. So the more people shopping with us and the more people wholesaling to us equals more dignified opportunity. So we are always looking to expand. Part of our hindrance right now is space. So our wholesale, we wholesale from a country called Moldova. You guys actually have 3 Rotary clubs in Moldova, believe it or not. And so it's been really hard because we could sell more products, but we don't have the space.
I actually meant, will you expand into
Oh, like New
Maryland,
Creation?
Pennsylvania, Ohio, California? You know,
I-
start a whole new chapter, if you will.
Yeah, I would love to say I know, but I know better because usually when I say we would never do that, that's not our hope. Our hope is actually to be a footprint for other cities to come and look at how Harrisonburg did it and then go back.
Okay.
Because there's such power in your community, just like when we work in other countries, we work with natives that live in their country, that work in their country. We don't come in and, create a system. And so our hope is to do that. So I'd love to expand, but more come learn from New Creation. I could write a book on what to not do. And so come learn from us and then take it back to your city. That would be my hope of how to expand. Any other questions? Okay, thank you guys so much. I'm really grateful.
Thank you, Sabrina. Once again, just eye-opening presentation. Our job is to spread the word of what's going on and encourage the community to support what she's doing. And yeah, just a powerful story. And so come find Sabrina if you want to find other ways to support her, which she's technically not allowed to ask you about from the Rotary pulpit. Okay, thanks, Jameson, for coming. David, thanks for being here again. And we are dismissed.